Welcome back, Viking sports followers. So today we're back with another interview. Today we will be sticking with the boxing theme. Today we'll be having a trainer come on to speak to us. A very well-renowned trainer within the boxing scene. He has got many fighters that he looks after within the USA, within Team USA as well, and was the former head trainer for Andy Ruiz Jr., obviously the former heavyweight champion of the world, first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world. So it'd be interesting to get to know Manny a bit better, understand what he's done within his career, who he's working with now, and just to understand a little bit more as to what happened between him and Andy's relationship after the Saudi Arabia fight, with the rematch with Anthony Joshua in December of last year. So what we'll do is we'll get him in and we'll start the interview. So you just give me a couple of moments and we'll get him in. Okay, so we just sent over an invite to Manny, so he should be with us in just a moment. So if any of you guys have any questions, then obviously just ping them in the comments or in the question box, and we'll do our best to try and get round to them as soon as we can within the interview. Okay, right, so Manny's just popped online, so it shouldn't be too long, and we'll have him in, and we'll be good to go. So he's just messaged back, and he will be joining us in just a couple of moments. So as before, any questions, pop them in the comments or in the question box, and we'll get straight into the questions there as and when we can within the interview. So Manny has just joined us. I just sent him an invite, so you should be able to accept that in just a moment. Hello, Manny. You okay?
Yes, I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you very much. Firstly, just want to say thank you very much for joining us today. It's really appreciated. We're a small business growing, so it's really appreciated to get someone of your stature within the boxing world to come on with us today.
Right on. I appreciate it. My pleasure.
Yeah, no worries. So I just wanted to start off with, obviously people will know you probably best for your relationship that you had with Andy Ruiz Jr. But I just wanted to start off with really to understand how you actually got into boxing and the position that you're in now.
My dad, I've been involved in boxing my entire life, as an amateur fighter, as a professional fighter as well, and as a coach now.
Yeah. And with the coaching, obviously having the involvement within amateur boxing obviously has helped you learn and develop the skills and what the fighters require. So with that in mind, obviously I can see that you're involved or have been involved with Team USA, and obviously you've got a couple of heavyweights on the scene at the moment. Can you explain which heavyweights you've got at the moment and which other fighters you're currently looking after?
Well, yeah, I mean, I work with quite a bit of fighters in every weight category, not just the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
So, Charles Martin, I've been working with Charles Martin, which fought Anthony Joshua for the. When Charles Martin was a world champion, Joshua won his first world heavyweight title versus Charles. So I've been working with Charles now for, I want to say, about a couple of years now, and things have been progressing. Things have been going well. He's a mandatory once again to Anthony Joshua's belt IBF after this next fight that Joshua has pending.
Yeah.
So apparently we're due next, or anybody else in the heavyweight division, any of the other top contenders, champions, and so forth. But we love to get an opportunity to fight Joshua again for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm busy with Sergey Buhachuk, 18-0, 18 knockouts. I have a pro stable, amateur stable of fighters that I'm working with. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where to begin. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know really who to talk about unless you bring up a name.
So with just touching on obviously Charles Martin there that you brought up. Obviously, he lost the IBF belt previously. Obviously, over in the UK, he wasn't as renowned. Probably you could say similar to Andy Ruiz in some ways with regards to that. But with Charles Martin, obviously, he went in there, as all fighters do, think they can do the business and come out on top. Sadly, he didn't on that night, and it ended in very quick and disastrous fashion. And obviously, AJ's gone on to do big things within the division. But since you've come in and started, as his coach, what have you noticed that has changed in him as a fighter?
Well, I believe he's a better fighter now. He's a more experienced, more well-grounded boxer today than he was then when he first won the world title. He wasn't as mature mentally. That is, he wasn't the fighter that he is today. He's again, not just as a person, but as a boxer as well. He's matured. He's grown, and we get along very well. There's chemistry between him and I. We're able to work, and he's able to progress and learn and do what I want him to do, boxing.
That's what you want from a fighter, is someone that's willing to obviously make those steps, accept that there are things that need to be worked on and changed, and gets on with it is the ultimate thing. So with that obviously in mind, obviously you've had a fantastic experience with Andy Ruiz. He went into that first fight June the 1st, 2019, Madison Square Garden, Mecca of boxing, with 4 to 5 weeks notice to go into that fight. Obviously wasn't originally meant to fight him. He was meant to obviously fight Big Baby Miller. Obviously, as we know, things have happened and have happened since then. What was his mindset like, and your mindset like, going into that fight with 4 to 5 weeks notice?
It was great because we had just came off a fight. We fought Dimitrenko, another European boxer here in LA. He was a co-main event at the time on April 20th, 2019 of last year. So he looked great. It was his first fight with PBC, Al Heyman. He looked great. He looked fantastic. Stopped the guy, I believe, in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But he did it, and I always say that it's not winning, it's how you win. So he looked very well getting it done, getting the job done. And then about a week later, or within a week, he gets the call to fight Anthony Joshua. So he had he'd been in the gym for 10 weeks getting ready for Dimitrenko. So the fight versus Joshua couldn't have happened at a better time, because he really didn't have any time to rest, and lose his conditioning, right? And so it came in perfect. I mean, and who wouldn't get motivated to, get a phone call and say, hey, you're fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world versus Anthony Joshua at the time, and the undisputed heavyweight champion without the WBC belt, but nonetheless, definitely pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah,
he still is, in my opinion. He still is one of the best fighters in the world, and so it couldn't have happened at a better time. We took on the opportunity. Again, he was already in shape, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is like, oh, Joshua wasn't in shape. No, Joshua was in shape because he was preparing. He was already preparing for this fight. We were in shape as well. because he had just came off a fight. So again, the fight couldn't have happened at a better time.
Yeah, and obviously the weeks leading up, obviously, again, very short space of time before him actually being offered the contract and taking the fight and being there, having the fight. The weeks leading up to it, in the press conferences that he did have with Anthony Joshua, yourself, Eddie Hearn, Adam Smith, etc., he come across to the British public as someone that was very down to earth, was grateful for the opportunity, didn't take anything for granted, and that he was just very respectful of Anthony Joshua and the opportunity that he was given. Obviously, he was a massive underdog within, the papers, the media, the betting sites, etc. How did he handle that, and how did you manage to keep him on the straight and narrow before fight night come, and on fight night itself, knowing that probably 3/4 of the crowd that were in there were either British or Anthony Joshua backing, and the media that were there were probably 90% on Anthony Joshua's back, and supporting Anthony Joshua. So how did that kind of that work inside the camp, not just yourself but him and everyone that was around him?
Yeah, you forgot the fans too. You said the media and the judges, but also the fans. Say 99% of the fans that were there were Joshua fans. I felt like I was back at the O2 Arena again. Yeah, it was incredible. It was an incredible night, incredible atmosphere. No, you have to remember that Andy's an experienced heavyweight. He had fought for the world title previously, right before I started working with him, and so he had that experience. He went to New Zealand to fight Joseph Parker in his backyard. So you can't buy experience in situations like that. I mean, it just, you learn from it. I always say this: you either win or you learn. And in that particular fight, he learned a great deal, and that helped. It helped him carry on to the fight versus Joshua. But he knew what he wanted. He understood that this opportunity was a great opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity. Now, coming at him for a second time.
Yeah.
First time was the WBO, and now it was the WBO, IBF, and WBA. So, we understood what was at stake, and we made sure that we, took advantage of the opportunity. I studied Anthony Joshua very well. I'm a big fan of Joshua's.
Yeah.
I've been following his career since day one, since he was an amateur boxer. I met him back in Azerbaijan, Baku, Azerbaijan, at the World Championship when I was working with Team USA. I got a chance to see him win the silver medal, which in my opinion, he won gold, but he got the silver.
Yeah.
He fought a home fighter. Unless you knock out the fighter, you're not going to get the win. And which is similar to what we're going through in New York versus Joshua. We understood that we either had to give Joshua a pounding and make it obvious, or get a knockout.
Yeah.
And anyway, to answer your question, that we're definitely prepared, definitely ready, mentally, physically. Like I said, the best thing that happened to Andy was coming off that Dimitrenko fight, so it just came in perfect timing.
And obviously, after the win, obviously round 7 knockout, devastating fashion. Obviously, Anthony Joshua had never been knocked down in that fashion ever before. He'd been knocked down in his career against Klitschko, but not to the state of, obviously, Andy Ruiz had knocked him down in Madison Square Gardens. Obviously, with that all in mind, obviously there weren't excuses that come out of Team AJ. There were excuses within the papers that people thought he didn't look right, that something was wrong, something that happened in the dressing room. Everything possible was coming out of the media to kind of support and probably not support Joshua. But nevertheless, Anthony Joshua come out and he said, the better man won. We will go again. And we will, the belt. He will have the belts for 6 months, and and they'll be raised in the air again, which they did. How did the after effects for you and everyone else involved with Andy Ruiz? Obviously, it's going to be a period where there's going to be celebration. Obviously, the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world, and to do it in such devastating fashion was incredible. And to be part of that experience must have been amazing and nothing like you had experienced before. But how did it all kind of unfold as we saw it in the lead up to Saudi Arabia? What happened from your perspective?
Well, I wouldn't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't live with Andy. I didn't. My job is to work with Andy. My job is to train Andy. At the time, was to train Andy, get him ready, just like any other coach. I don't live with him. I just, I'm at the gym every day. I'm at the gym from this time to this time, and his job is to come to the gym and train and work out and get ready to fight.
Yeah.
The second time around, the second fight, I mean, I'm at the gym. I'm not gonna go pick him up. I'm not gonna go look for him at home. This is a man. This is a world champion we're talking about. So he understands he understood what his responsibilities were. Mm-hmm. And anything else other than that, I wouldn't be able to answer because I wasn't with him.
And do you think, like in fairness, obviously it wasn't a fight where we were talking, a couple £1,000 being chucked to Andy Ruiz. It was some serious money that was brought into this. Do you think that's had some influence on what we saw as fans, as the public, which was portrayed in the media? Obviously, I know you're not with him all the time unless he's in the gym, but do you think the money side of things, the fame side of things, maybe took over the responsibility of being a world champion?
Well, it'll change anybody for that matter. You wake up, you fight for the world title one day, and then the next day you wake up being a world champion, and then the heavyweight champion of the world at that, and then on top of that, the first Mexican or Mexican American heavyweight champion of the world. His life changed dramatically. There's a lot of new faces in his circle, a lot of new people in his circle, and that probably had some influence in Andy. Maybe not so much in a positive way, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I wish he could have seen things a little bit differently and looked at the bigger picture and perhaps, can you imagine if you would have been Joshua for a second time? It would have been. You go to East LA, you probably find a statue of Andy Ruiz right now in East LA or Mexico City. You know what I mean? And because what he did was, you can't take away what Andy did the first time. No, not at all. No. It wasn't luck. Despite what people might say, believe me, it wasn't luck. He worked extremely hard for this fight, and we came in with a great game plan. And we felt like coming into the second fight, it was going to be the same thing. I, for one, being the coach, came up with the game plan the first fight, and I thought I had a pretty good game plan for the second fight. But you can't execute the game plan if you're not 100%. So that's what happened.
And with the comparison of fight weeks, obviously we've discussed Madison Square Garden's fight week. Moving over to Saudi Arabia, what was the difference between the two? Was the same mindset still to go and do the business, or was there part of Andy that was still kind of not quite there, not 100% there in the moment, like he hadn't been throughout his camp? Sadly, obviously there'll be days he turned up, he didn't turn up, or he was out somewhere. Was that kind of the same with the fight week itself? Was he kind of there or not there?
Well, these are the type of questions that you should ask Andy, to be quite honest with you. Where his mindset was. I mean, I'm still intrigued and to find out where his mindset was, because that wasn't the same Andy that fought Joshua. We all know that.
Yeah, 100%.
Uh, um, you know, he wasn't in shape. He wasn't in the kind of shape that he was, you know, coming into the first fight. But I have a great deal of respect for Andy. You know, you can't forget about what we did that night when we beat Joshua as
Yeah,
a team, of course. You know, everything prior to that, everything, you know, our fights together, our time together, training, working. You can't, you know, I rather keep that. I rather keep those good, positive moments and not trash my fighter for that matter, or any other fighters I
yeah,
worked with in the past. You know, I've said some things in the past where I was, you know, for the most part, I've never said anything negative about Andy. Only the truth,
no,
and not nothing that he hasn't said himself. You know, at the press conference after the fight, you know, he said he wasn't in shape. He you know, he wasn't ready or but the one thing I do appreciate about Joshua is that he did the total opposite. You know, he took his defeat like a loss, like a man,
yeah,
and never looked for excuses. Never said, "Hey, you know, I didn't train," or "I was, you know, I had this, I had that." Never. He said, "I lost to the better man. This is Andy Reese's night. Congratulations," and he moved on.
yeah,
And I have, and this is the reason why he's one of my favorite. This is the reason why Josh is one of my favorite fighters. Is not only is he a great fighter, but he's a great individual. He's a great person. He's a great ambassador of the sport of boxing. His, you know, his behavior inside and outside the ring is top class, man. And
yeah,
I was a fan before, and
yeah,
I'm still a fan now because of
yeah,
the individual that he is, a humanitarian. Also, he's just the perfect fighter. You know,
yeah,
quiet, respectful, and that's what I like in fighters, to be honest with you.
yeah.
So, unfortunately, you know, going back to the Andy situation, he wasn't very well prepared, and I wouldn't be telling you this if he wouldn't have said it himself
Oh yeah,
after the fight at the press conference, like I said, because I normally just keep it to myself, and you know, he went out there and said he wasn't in shape, so I'm just going off of what he said, really.
yeah. No, definitely. And as you said, you can't take it away from what he's achieved. It's
Right,
always going to be an achievement that he's had, and you know he has had that. Obviously, we hope that he can come back, and you know whether that's under you, you know the trainers that he's under now, or whatever that may be.
right,
Obviously, to come back and try and fight for a world title again, wherever that will may be. But obviously, there's a lot of things that he needs to work on, and as you said, only he can put the dedication back into it and get that mentality back
right.
into boxing. So that's good. But obviously, with in mind, obviously, you said you're a fan of Anthony Joshua. You know, you like his mindset. You like how he is as an overall fighter. Obviously, you've got Charles Martin next in line. He's IBF mandatory, as you said
Mm.
there, and hopefully Joshua's next after Pulev potentially, depending on obviously there's a couple of mandatories he's got to get through.
Correct, correct.
With that in mind, obviously Charles Martin's mindset last time, I don't think personally, in my opinion, was the best. I think he was very
Mm-hmm,
immature as a fighter, mentally,
mm-hmm,
not physically, but mentally.
mm-hmm.
Um, this time round, would you have any sort of influence as his trainer on how he goes in? Obviously, you're familiar with Fight Week with Anthony Joshua and the build up with Anthony Joshua, having done it twice with Andy Ruiz. Is there anything that you could give to Charles Martin as advice as to just just be coy, or will it all be driven by Charles Martin? He will just be the Charles Martin that we know, comes in full of confidence, and the guy that come in, the last time against Joshua.
He's a different individual, as I said. He's a different type of fighter now. He's older, you know. For one thing, he's not a kid anymore. Again, you learn more from your defeats than you do from your wins. And I believe he took a great. He learned a great deal from that fight, from that defeat, or any other for that matter.
Hmm.
It humbles you. It humbles you. You know, there's a saying in boxing: "Stay humble or be humbled."
Yeah,
You know, and that's what I feel happened to Charles. his life took a turn after, you know, losing the world title, the heavyweight title, and then eventually he gained that. He got back on track, and you know, we've been working together for a little bit for a little while now, and things seem to be going pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
he's but we've probably been together for like the last 4 fights or so,
Okay.
and he's done well. He's back in. He's back on the map. He fought on the Tyson Fury, the
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder card, had the co-main event. Uh, Defeated Gerald Washington for the title eliminator for the #1 spot, and he looked good doing it, and he's back on track now with this whole COVID situation, this whole COVID coronavirus situation. It isn't helping anyone. It set everyone back. You know, shows are getting canceled, fights are getting canceled. Fights are falling off because fighters are getting sick the night of or the night before the
Yeah.
fight. It's crazy, and it's just we all have to hang in there, of course, and just be patient, hope for the best, and hope that 2021 turns out to be a better year for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that you were involved with Dominic Brazil. Is
Yeah,
that correct? Yeah.
yeah. This was a while back. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, he fought Joshua as well. Obviously.
I was in his corner, yeah, when he fought Joshua
Yeah.
first. So I
Obviously,
know Joshua very well.
yeah. So obviously, with Brazil, he's kind of similar in nature, that he's very outgoing, outspoken,
Yeah.
kind of fighter at at a press conference, face to face, as we found out with the face to face with Joshua. I don't think he before then had that kind of confrontation with a fighter, probably other than Dillian White, again back in the amateur days. So again, something new for Joshua. Obviously, he was defeated again.
Correct.
Again, in unfortunate, devastating fashion for Dominic there, but I don't see that. I've seen Charles Martin fight. I saw him on the undercard on the Fury Wilder fight. I don't see the same sort of change in Dominic Brazil, because obviously he went on and he fought other big name fighters and never seemed to really take the grasp of the reins again, not like Charles Martin has had. Do you think that defeat, because he went in with full confidence, like real confidence that he was going to do the business, he pushed Anthony Joshua around and he said, I'm not going to mess around. Do you think that really took a knock off of his confidence potentially?
When he fought, you mean when he fought Joshua, right?
Yeah.
Well, we came in confident, of course. Not, but that I don't think he came in overconfident, to be honest with you. And it's just he's the type of guy, he comes from a football background.
Yeah.
Dominic Brazil, that is. So he played football for most of his life, most of his career he was a football player, and then eventually turned to boxing. So he had only been boxing for a handful of years.
Yeah.
I'd been working with Dominic since he was an amateur with the a program back in the day that was ran by Mr. Michael King. It was called the All-American Heavyweight. So I was one of the coaches for that program, and Mr. King was in search of the heavyweight Olympian.
Okay.
And so hundreds of fighters went through that system, and including Charles Martin. And it just so happens that Dominic Brazil was the one. He's the one that eventually made the USA team and qualified to the Olympic Games and went to the Olympics and eventually turned pro. And I was by his side for pretty much more than half of his career. And we got the call to fight Joshua for the world title. So we went to London and at the O2 Arena. It was an incredible experience. I'll never forget. Let me tell you, man, the British fans are some of the best, if not the best, more supportive boxing fans in the world. It's just incredible the way you guys support your fans and the way you guys fill out your arenas and you guys get there early, by the way. You guys don't get there
Oh yeah.
just for the main event and that's it. You guys show up in the masses. So I have a great deal of respect for the British fans and the UK fans in general. And it's just something that I've never experienced before in my life. Not just with fighting Joshua, of course,
Yeah.
for the heavyweight title, but just the whole scene. And I mean, you guys were very, very on it. You guys
Yeah.
were on us
Yeah.
from the go, but very respectful, very respectful. We never, no, we were never disrespected at any point by anyone, of course. And we felt very good coming into the fight. But at the time, we fought who I considered and many others considered pound for pound the best heavyweight in the world. And it just so happens that we, ended up fighting him again versus Andy Reese. And
Yeah.
I was very well aware of who Anthony Joshua was. I being there before and watching every one of his fights, really, since the amateurs again,
Yeah.
coming up as a pro, including the fight with Dylan White, another great fighter, that another great heavyweight from the UK that I believe he can give anybody a run for his money.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? Excuse me. What can I tell you? I again, I have a great deal of respect for the fans, the boxing in the UK. You guys are putting your fighters on the map. I think you guys are definitely a powerhouse in any weight class, not just the
Yeah.
heavyweight division. So
Yeah.
I commend you guys for that, and for the fans to continue to be supportive with your boxers.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it's really good to hear that from someone overseas in the position that you're in, because
Appreciate that.
it's something that when I've spoken to fighters myself this year, obviously with the current situation with the pandemic, obviously fans can't be there, and fighters are used to once it's a punch that goes in, a massive roar, of the fans, comes into effect. And obviously that is something that's been missed, and hopefully we can all get back into arenas safely, soon, and get back to those full sellout crowds. Because over in the UK, boxing is one that's we turn up at midday,
Okay.
and fight doesn't start till 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's something we love over here, and as you know, with Anthony Joshua, he's sold football stadiums out, 90,000,
Oh,
100,000 seat stadiums, and they've not been half full, three-quarters full. They've been full, sold out in minutes. So the passion's there with the UK fans. I think they brought 10,000, 15,000 fans, not all of them at Madison Square Gardens, but in New York, out with them. And the same in Saudi. I think it was a 10,000 seat stadium. Obviously it wasn't full on the night, but there was 7,000 Brits out there, which is just
insane.
unbelievable and unheard of in a lot of other sports. So it's definitely something we miss, and obviously you guys as well, I'd imagine, miss having someone behind you other than the TV crowd. The crowd behind you makes the sport it is, really, with the people there and being entertained, and the roar of the fans, the booing, the shouting, everything like that is very disappointing. But hopefully next year we'll be in a better position. So with that in mind, just touching on obviously the fans, the stadiums, the arenas, what would you say has been the best stadium and event that you've been part of within your career to date?
I don't know the stadium.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Definitely, it's got to be between the O2 Arena and that's a massive stadium, and it's beautiful. And of course, the Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden, it's spectacular. New York City, Muhammad Ali fought at the Madison Square Garden. Can you imagine stepping into that place? It's just an incredible feeling. It's every time I go to New York City, it's just the Mecca of boxing, they call it, and it was incredible. That was an incredible night. Been there before with other boxers, but to live what we lived that night of June 1st, 2019, with Andy Reese making history, that's probably got to be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Then of course there's other arenas. You know, you got the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, where I've been there so many times. There's so many great fights, including Ricky Hatton.
Yeah.
Watching Ricky Hatton, you know, I was a fan of Ricky Hatton with him coming up. I was always a fan. He was never in a bad fight. Even when he lost, he wasn't in a bad
Yeah.
fight. Uh, uh, so, you know, of course, Prince Nassim Hamed.
Yeah.
I was there at the MGM Grand when he fought Barrera, Marco Antonio Barrera. So that was a incredible night of boxing as well. You know, the British. Can you imagine the British
Yeah.
fans and the Mexican fans and whatever? Oh man, it was
Yeah. I can't.
crazy.
It would have been
It was
crazy.
crazy, man. It was. That was a memorable night. I'll never forget that night for as long as I live. And you know, Vegas, New York, London. You know, the O2 Arena. I mean, it's just what else? I mean, I'm a fortunate person. I'm a
Yeah.
fortunate individual. I'm grateful to for the opportunity. Grateful to God to have this great opportunity to do what I love doing. You know, when you love what you do, you never got to work a day in your life. So I
Yeah.
get paid to do this, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I get paid to travel and to travel the world and meet, interesting people like yourself. Travel, food,
Yeah.
people, it's just I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. I've been to too many arenas, too many places, but I just gave you the three top arenas possibly that are on the top of my list, starting with the New York City, Madison Square Garden, and
Yeah.
then of course the O2 and Arena and the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, that's one that I want to tick off the list for boxing. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough to be there for the first Andy Ruiz fight, and then was very, very fortunate to be there for the second in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
So the mecca of boxing for me has to be hands down the best venue I've been to, and I've seen Anthony Joshua, fight the Principality in Cardiff in the UK, at the O2, Wembley. But for me, Madison Square Gardens, it just wins
Yeah,
every day of the week. It was just
right.
unbelievable.
Yeah, so I was there. I used to work with Michael Conlon in the past, so I have to thank Michael Conlon because he took me to New York City for the first time to the
Yeah,
Madison Square Garden. As a matter of fact, I've seen so many, I saw Lomachenko with Linares, and
wow.
who else did I see there? I've seen so many, and Miguel Cotto, and his last fight as a pro.
Yeah.
Uh, so many different fights. I've been with other fighters, of course.
Hmm.
I said Michael Conlon at the theater, in Madison Square Garden with.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with names. He's super famous. The MMA guy. What's his name?
Oh, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, that Conor
Yeah.
McGregor. Sorry, I apologize for that. How could I not know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came into our locker room prior to him walking out to the fight. I was like, wow, okay, this he's a big shot. So
Yeah.
walked us into the ring, and I mean, that was very memorable. And that was
Yeah.
his first. He was turning pro, as a matter of fact, that night. Michael Conlon was
Wow.
making his first professional fight. So I've never seen anything like this before for a kid making his pro debut. A
Yeah.
pro debut, the arena was packed. It
Wow.
was sold out. It was packed just for Michael Conlon.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and then
Unbelievable.
of course Conor McGregor. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So I'll never forget that night as well. It was a special night.
Yeah. And obviously, talking arenas, obviously Saudi Arabia was something completely different.
Yeah.
As you'll know, as I know, it was in the middle of nowhere. It was
Tell
just,
me about it. Yeah.
I just, I don't know how to explain it to people or
Money,
to
man.
like
They got
friends or
money,
family when I
man.
come back. The pictures didn't do it justice. It was a fantastic setup. It was
Yes.
unfortunate. It was the first time that it rained in about probably 7 years over
And
there.
I was there for 2 weeks. It never
Yeah.
rained until the night of the fight. Wow.
But it added to it. It added to the, is this going to go ahead? Is this not going to go ahead? It added to that. How did you find the arena itself and kind of settling into, because it's a different place to anywhere on this planet. How did you find settling in yourself, as in
It's
Saudi
great. I
Arabia?
mean, like I said, experience, and luckily for me, being able to travel as much as I have with, pros, amateurs, and so forth, going to different competitions as an amateur, as an amateur coach, and then with professional fighters, just pretty much being all over the world. So you just kind of like tune into the fight and forget about everything else. Forget about your surroundings.
Yeah.
Forget about the fact that it's raining and you know, because that's not our concern. Our concern is to go out there and fight. You
Yeah.
know, our opponent. That's the only thing that concerns us is, you know, the man standing in front of us and making sure that we come out with that win. You know, like I said, everything else is, you don't really get to soak everything in until after the fight, until after
Yeah.
the fact. But really, you're not. Your focus isn't
You're
like
just
who's there or who isn't there. You know what I mean? Is my
yeah.
girlfriend there, or are my friends here, or who's here for me, who's here for the other guy? You never think about that. You just focus
Yeah.
on the opponent. Period.
And that's really insightful and good to hear, because as a fan, you just sit there and you just think, these guys are coming into like thousands of people,
Yeah.
thousands of people at the time, because there had been so many Brits that had made that journey to Saudi Arabia. Whether it's right or it's wrong, or if it's just the atmosphere, obviously it was noticeably a lot of booing going on for Andy Ruiz. Obviously, with the Brits that were there, it was going to be expected.
Yeah.
You do wonder, does that affect them, or are they so driven that they're focused on just coming out of their changing room in the ring? It's business, and that's really insightful to hear, because I think people think, is that going to distract them? Is that why they lost the fight? Is this, and coming up with excuses before it's even started? And to hear it from yourself, someone that's walking out by side of their fighter, and to know that you are just focused on one thing is really insightful. And I think it will help a lot of people when they're watching boxing, that although the crowds do to some extent give them that little bit of an advantage from time to time, but it's not taken into consideration who sat in first row, who sat in row Z, or whatever. It's full focus on the game.
I remember the fight in Saudi Arabia. I had Eddie Hearn sitting right behind me. He kept going and screaming and yelling and pulling for Anthony Joshua, right? And I'm like, I look over my shoulder, who the hell is this person? And I look over my shoulder, and it's none other than Eddie Hearn.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
yeah, no,
But he was really supporting Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? And I have to commend him for that. I have to give him a great deal of respect for that, because here's the promoter, right? This guy is Eddie Hearn, right? Matchroom
yeah,
Boxing. And he could just sit there and stay quiet like most promoters do. Stay
yeah,
quiet and not say a word and just watch the fight. But no, he was a fan that night. He was a
yeah.
true fan and supporting his fighter, and just so happened to be sitting right behind me. So I don't know if he was spying on us or what. But anyway, man, he's a great individual, great person. He's I think he's perhaps one of the, if not the best promoter in the world at this point.
Yeah.
He's very well respected individual. His business, as far as matchroom boxing, what he's done to the UK boxing, whether some people tend to agree or not, has been incredible. And
Yeah.
so he's great with, just like here in America with Top Rank. What
Yeah.
they really know how to develop champions. They know how to build superstars. And I believe that Eddie Hearn is what Top Rank is here in America, back in the UK.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think he gets a lot of stick. And I think, Anthony Joshua plays on that. I think you must have seen quite a few of his interviews after his fights, and he plays on it quite a lot, getting the fans to roar. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But as I was saying, obviously, it's fantastic to obviously get the insight from you and to understand, what you've done within your career, from amateur boxing through to coaching, obviously touching on Andy Ruiz and Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil. And it's really good to hear that you're not just in it for supporting the fighters, but you're also a fan, clearly, for Anthony Joshua and others around you. So I'd just like to obviously wrap it up here and really thank you for your time. Honestly, it's been fantastic to interview you today and get the opportunity to interview you, and get to hear a lot more about that. And hopefully we can get you back on in the future and carry this conversation on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, I would. Yeah. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And before we before we all leave and go about our business, let's not forget Maradona. I got the Boca Juniors shirt doing. We all know he passed away this
Yeah,
week. So, we're all we're all feeling the the country of Argentina. We're all feeling their pain, and we
yeah,
lost a great one in Maradona.
yeah,
So I know you
100%.
guys are not too fond of the Argentinians there, including Maradona. What he did to you guys in 1986. But let's
Yeah,
not forget. Yeah, I'm a big soccer
no,
fan as well. I'm a big sports fan. But let's all rest in
no,
peace.
no, 100%.
Rest in peace, Diego.
Whatever happened, he's still one of the greatest of all
Yeah,
times to grace the football pitch. So sad times, obviously here. That sadly we've lost Diego Maradona this week. But yeah, obviously, God rest his soul, and we're fortunate that we've got the technology that we do, that we can witness him day in, day out for the
that's
rest
right.
of our lives.
That's right. Yes, sir. So, thank you. Stay
Yeah, thank you
blessed,
very much.
and then I'll see you soon. Right.
Yeah, all right, keep in contact and we'll speak
Right.
soon.
Right on.
Thank
You
you.
guys take
Bye
care.
bye.
Goodbye.